Why was the weird boy expelled from your school? A boy in my class could fart at will, sucking air into his butt and then letting it out. He once tried it underneath in the shower after gym. Well, it turns out that if you suck in water with your butt, you end up shooting watery poop bombs. We were laughing at this poop cannon until one guy went to tell the teacher, had to go clean it all up and got kicked out. He yelled, "Get your melons off," at the Queen of England, as she was passing by in a procession that our school was watching. He dropped 500 crickets in our school cafeteria. He then proceeded to sit back and watch the madness. One teacher caught as many as he could, and ended up stuffing them into the prankster boy's car, through an open window. The teacher had the last laugh. A kid at my high school built an explosive, and took it to his science teacher. The school was evacuated and a bomb squad had to be called in. A very strange boy who coincidentally coincided with me one year in school, wore large amounts of hairspray on his head. The amount was so much, that eventually his hair would stick together as if he was using gel, but he wasn't really using any. The boy who sat behind him in one of our classes, turned out to be one of the worst behaved kids in the school. At one point, he pulled out a lighter and set his hair on fire. Fortunately, it didn't spread like oil, but it definitely stayed lit long enough to see him running out the door with his hair smoking. After this, the other one was kicked out. He threw a chair at our pregnant teacher in 5th grade. I've never seen that kid since. One kid made a joke about his mom to this weird kid in chemistry class. It was just one of those typical jokes you hear all the time. The kid got mad, heated up some cup tongs with a lighter, and then stuck them in the neck of the other kid who made the joke. He was expelled and sued. He was proud that he did it all the way through. I'm glad I branded that son of a bitch. He knew he was the typical psycho kid in school, but he didn't think it was that big of a deal. Videotaping himself while goose pulling, and leaving the evidence on the school's audiovisual activities computer. When I was a junior in high school, the senior prank was to steal all the science videos from the office, record no porn on them in various parts, and then return the tapes. For years, teachers would play tape on fossil fuels or mitochondria, and out would come a big rifle in action in front of everyone. The science department finally gave up trying to find the tapes, and just threw them all in the trash. The student who organized the prank was expelled, because someone spilled beans because of him at lunch. There was a kid at school who was known for not showering. It was absolutely disgusting, but he didn't exactly have the best home life, so no one was going to say anything. One day, the boy sitting behind him decided to set fire to the greasy hair of the non-showerer. It went up like a fireball, and the smell that followed would make an onion weep. Needless to say, the lighter boy was immediately ejected. He stole an autistic kid's backpack full of books, pooped in it, zipped it closed and shook it out. He then bragged about it to one of his friends. So when the autistic boy freaked out, it didn't take the administration long to figure out who did it. He held a girl up against a wall and kept staring at her crotch saying, "Dinner time," and "I'm hungry," or something like that. It was really weird and I think he had some mental illness. He drew over 1,000 drawings of penises, each on a separate sheet of paper, and then proceeded to jump up and down the hallway during class, and throw them all over the school. When they took him to the office, they showed him a picture of him doing it. He asked the principal if he could keep the picture as a souvenir. Well, then we were in the middle of a class, which took place on the 5th floor of our school. There was a boy who in the middle of class got up, walked over to the window, proceeded to open it and jump out. The whole class was terrified, and the teacher stood there for a second unable to believe what she had just witnessed. In reality, the boy jumped onto a ledge below the window, as a sick joke to make us believe that he had just taken his own life. He was expelled the next week, and we had to make a list to our counselor for a week, about why things like this are not funny, and why thinking about taking one's own life is bad. This kid was on exchange at school. He had a history of being a jerk, but he was a really fun kid. So, it's the beginning of junior year and it's lunchtime. Two people jokingly told Kevin that they would pay him $60 to pee his pants. Money talks, and he got up from his seat, and within moments peed his pants. They recorded the event and the video was passed around the school. Maybe a day or two later, he was called into the office and promptly expelled for whatever reason. The catch here is that the two kids never paid their money, until a teacher forced them to pay Kevin, in lieu of an expulsion. We did javelin in school sports. I looked for my chance to punish the bully by throwing it in his back. He was out of school for 2 months. He never touched me again. The police were involved and I was expelled. I never felt better about it, even 45 years later. One girl knocked out a teacher with one punch, when she was about 15, and she never came back. It should be noted that this was the same girl who went on a strike in protest, because girls had to wear skirts and were not allowed to wear pants. She used the time away from school to hang out in parks, get drunk, and so on. Despite that, he appeared in different newspapers, and the school allowed him to appear in pants, after local media attention. This boy got angry during a math test, stood up and yelled, "I can't take it anymore." He overturned all the desks in the classroom, and then embarked on a multi-hour chase with teachers, as he ran away from the school and ran naked through the streets. 2 boys were fighting during lunch, so a teacher ran in and tried to stop them, knocking one of the boys to the ground. However, another boy in the audience really wanted to see the fight, so he kicked the teacher in the face, punching the teacher twice in the stomach when she was pregnant. Her husband even wanted to sue him, but I don't know many details about it. I know because my mother was at a parents' meeting, and they discussed it there. Before that, he also attacked another student in the back with a pair of scissors, and he was suspended for 20 days. I think the school just said, yes, he's expelled for life. He brought a razor to school because it had a cool design, like a mini samurai sword. He didn't threaten anyone, he didn't wave it around like an idiot, he just quietly showed it to his friends. Someone saw it and told a teacher. He was thrown out at the end of the day. It might have been dumb to bring a knife, but he didn't deserve to be expelled. I went to an all-boys Catholic high school. One of the teachers was trying to become a deacon or something, and he had to videotape himself while he was organizing a service. He taught religion, so he used a class period to take his students to chapel and videotape his service. He had to go back to the classroom for something, and one of the kids got up and started making mischief. He started making fake moans, signaling with the candles, cupping his butt with the crucifix, saying completely atheistic things, and many more things. The boy goes back to his seat before the teacher returns to class, and none of the students say anything. The camera was recording the whole time. They called his parents and I never saw him again. They expelled a child from my elementary school for throwing fireworks at the front door of the school and blowing up the glass. I went to kindergarten with a boy named Marshall, who was always getting in trouble. One day, he finally got kicked out of school for spraying a fire extinguisher all over the classroom, and somehow getting his own poop into the cubbies where we kept our lunches. You have to be a fucking rock star to get kicked out of kindergarten. He threw a hammer at another student, narrowly missing and driving it into the wall. They'd been throwing plastic cutlery at him and he'd had enough. Honestly, they were poking a sleeping bear, because he had made it clear from the day he arrived, that he had mental conditions that made him a compulsive liar, but in a scary way. He told me firsthand how he finished off his own mother, a lady who regularly dropped him off at school, so that's a lie, with a screwdriver. The people at my school were very, very weird. But he was expelled immediately. If you know any story about it, you can leave it in the comments. Remember to give a like and subscribe to see new videos. Thank you very much for your visit.